Hello, my wonderful students. I welcome you to today's class. Our topic for today is Nigeria and the world, the interdependence of nations. Today we are looking at Nigeria and the world, the interdependence of nations. Before we proceed, let's look at the lesson objectives. What are those things that are expected of you to know in the course of watching and listening to this video? What are those things you must take note of? Lesson objectives. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to, 1, discuss the meaning of interdependence of nations. Also, you should be able to explain Nigeria's international interaction in terms of economic interaction, also in terms of political interaction, and as well as sociocultural interaction. Also, you should be able to take note of the various advantages and disadvantages of interacting with nations of the world. So let's look at the meaning of independence of nations. What does independence of nations mean? What is the meaning of independence of nations? Independence of nations. Of course, independence of nations means the interrelationship that exists among the nations of the world. You will agree with me that no nation of the world can stay in isolation. No country can exist in isolation without interacting with other countries. No countries can live without mingling with other countries of the world. So interdependence is all about the relationship and interrelationship that exists among the nations of the world. Having known the meaning of interdependence of nations, does Nigeria as a country interact with other nations? Does Nigeria interact with other nations of the world? Let's look at whether or not Nigeria interacts with other nations of the world. So, does Nigeria interact with other nations of the world? The answer to that question is yes. Emphatic yes. Nigeria indeed does interact with other nations of the world. And Nigeria interacts with other nations politically, economically, socially, and even culturally. And this interaction that Nigeria has with other nations of the world is made possible because Nigeria belongs to so many international, regional, or even sub-regional organizations. Nigeria belongs to these organizations like UNO, AU, ECOWAS, OPEC, and so on and so forth. So, as Nigeria is a member of these international organizations, they interact with one another and help look at each other's problems, and sometimes come in to help solve one another's problems. Now, having looked at whether or not Nigeria does interact, the next question on that we need to face is, what are the benefits for this interaction? What are the needs for interaction? Why is interaction necessary? Let's look at need for interaction. The need for interaction among nations of the world. Why do nations of the world interact? There are 3 major reasons why countries of the world interact. And these reasons include political reason. It also includes economic reason, and as well as sociocultural reason. So countries of the world interact because of some political reasons. Some is economic and others sociocultural. Let's take them one after the other. What are the political reasons why countries of the world interact with one another? What are the political reasons? What could make them interact politically? Political reason for interaction. Political reason for interaction. States, most often than not, agree to interact with one another. They form different international organizations, and in the course of forming this organization, they party with one another and ensure that there is peaceful and secured world. This organization ensure that they promote a peaceful and a secured world. So they interact politically to ensure that each of their member states live peacefully in their various states. Again, member states of this organization have certain principles governing them. So they have to abide by the principles governing these organizations. They ensure that they abide by the principles governing these organizations. So let's look at economic reason. What are the economic reasons for interaction? Economic reason for interaction among nations. Economic reason. Of course, you know that the various resources of the world are not evenly distributed. So nations interact so as to benefit from one another. They interact so as to benefit from one another. What this country does not have, the country benefit from another country. What this country has, they export it to another country, and then other country benefit from it. And they also import what they don't have. So the economic reason is just all about countries getting what they don't have from other countries. That is the economic benefit that is associated with countries interacting with one another. Also, we have sociocultural reason for interaction. What does this sociocultural reason for interaction mean? Sociocultural reason for interaction. Sociocultural reason for interaction. Of course, you are aware that interdependence among nations help to foster love, friendship among nations of the world. It helps to foster love and friendship among nations of the world. Sometimes nations of the world organize competitions like football competition, and countries participate in it and interact with one another. They share things in common. They benefit from each other in the area of culture, sport, musical concert, and so on and so forth. People from this country travel to the other country for sports, to explore and experience and have contact with other people's culture, and so on and so forth. Now, having looked at sociocultural reason for interaction, I want you to reflect on what you have learned, the meaning of interdependence among nations, the various ways countries of the world interact with one another. Reflect on the various reasons for this interaction. So that leads us to questions. So you need to have knowledge of these questions. What are these questions? What does interdependence among nations mean? What does it mean? What does interdependence among nations mean? Again, you should be able to tell me by now the meaning of political reason. You should be able to explain political reason. You should be able to also explain economic reason for interaction, and as well as explain sociocultural reason for interaction. You should be able to explain all these reasons for interaction. And again, you also need to know some advantages and disadvantages of these interactions among nations. What are the various advantages and disadvantages? When nations interact, what are those things that they tend to gain? What are the advantages? Let's look at advantages of interaction among nations of the world. Of course, you know advantages are benefits. There are those benefits that one derive. What are those benefits? One, the benefits are so numerous. There are many. Let's just look at some of them. One, peace and security. Another benefit, another advantage of interaction among nations of the world is closer relationship. Also, we also have another advantage. Economic advancement, also more advantages. We have another one, removal of interference. Again, we have foreign aids. Foreign aids. Nations of the world interact, and in the course of interaction, they get foreign aids. There are more advantages. More advantages. What are these advantages? What are these advantages? They include investment opportunities. Countries, when people leave this country and visit other countries, it attracts investment opportunities. Again, there are cultural and social benefits in the area of sports, in the area of so many areas. We also have establishment of political organizations. We also have more advantages like spread of civilization and modernization. Again, we have advantages like reduction of hostilities. That is, countries become more friendly among one another. So despite these advantages, there are also some disadvantages of interdependence among nations. There are some disadvantages. What are these disadvantages of interdependence among nations? Disadvantages. The disadvantages of interdependence among nations are numerous, but we shall look at some of them. One of the disadvantages of interdependence among nations include, one, cultural and social problems. Of course, people who live in one country, going to another country, they can export or take some things, some of their culture that are immoral to another country, and then the immoral culture infiltrates into other people's culture. You also have interference of states. That one is very likely to happen when countries are interacting. There could be interference. Again, we also have neo-colonialism, especially third world countries that are depending and interacting with other developed countries can become dependent on them in such a way that it will even lead to neo-colonialism, as if they are still under their colonial masters. Again, we also have inferior or poorly produced goods. What this means is that when countries are interacting among one another, goods that are produced in one country that are not up to standard will be what? Will be exported into another country. It will be exported to another country. And as a result, the country interacting with another country will start having goods that are poorly made or inferior goods brought to them from another country. We also have control of states. Control of states is also another disadvantage of interactions among nations of the world. Control of states is also another disadvantages. Another type of disadvantage. So, having looked at the various disadvantages of interactions among the nations of the world, it is necessary for you to know that there are other things as regard to this topic. And what are these things you need to know? That is, knowing these things will help you. It will help you. And these things are involved in the assignments that accompany this lesson. So you need to consult. The textbook you need to consult is DBSC Chris Essential Government for Senior Secondary School. You can refer to page 305 to 307. You need to know this thing by going to your textbook to consult this textbook and as well do the assignment. The assignments include you should explain interdependence of nations. Again, you should explain the various reasons why Nigeria interacts with other countries of the world. So what are the reasons why Nigeria interacts with other countries of the world? Third, another question you need to answer for me in your assignment. Ensure you consult Essential Government for Senior Secondary School, page 305 to 307. Another question is discuss the advantages and disadvantages of interactions among nations of the world. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of interactions among nations of the world. It's nice having you today, and I will urge you to do your assignment and also read ahead, because you have so many external examinations ahead of you. Until we meet again next time, take good care of yourselves. Bye.